Wycliffe Bible, Hebrews chapter 9. And the former testament had justifyings of worship and holy things during for a time. For the tabernacle was made first, in which were candlesticks and board, and setting forth of loaves, which is said holy. And after the veil, the second tabernacle, that is said Sancta Sanctorum, that is, holy of holy things, having a golden censer, and the ark of the testament, covered about on each side with gold, in which was a pot of gold having manna, and the rod of Aaron that flourished, and the tables of the testament, on which things were cherubims of glory, overshadowing the propitiatory, of which things it is not now to say by all. But when these were made thus together, priests entered evermore in the former tabernacle, doing the offices of sacrifices. But in the second tabernacle, the bishop entered once in the year, not without blood, which he offered for his ignorance and the people's. For the Holy Ghost signified this thing, that not yet the way of saints was opened, while the former tabernacle had stayed. Which parable is of this present time, by which also gifts and sacrifices are offered, which may not make a man serving perfect by conscience, only in meats and drinks, and divers washings, and righteousnesses of flesh, that were set to the time of correction. But Christ, being a bishop of goods to coming, entered by a larger and more perfect tabernacle, not made by hand, that is to say, not of this making, neither by blood of goat bucks or of calves, but by his own blood, entered once into the holy things that were found by an everlasting redemption. For if the blood of goat bucks and of bulls and the ash of a cow calf sprained halloweth unclean men to the cleansing of flesh, how much more the blood of Christ, which by the Holy Ghost offered himself unwounded to God, shall cleanse our conscience from dead works, to serve God that liveth. And therefore he is a mediator of the New Testament, that by death falling betwixt, into redemption of those trespassings that were under the former testament, they that are called take the promise of everlasting heritage. For where a testament is, it is need that the death of the testament maker come betwixt. For a testament is confirmed in dead men, else it is not worth, while he liveth, that made the testament. Wherefore neither the first testament was hallowed without blood. For when each commandment of the law was read of Moses to all the people, he took the blood of calves and of bucks of goat, with water and red wool and hyssop, and besprained both that book and all the people, and said, This is the blood of the testament that God commanded to you. Also he sprained with blood the tabernacle and all the vessels of the service in like manner. And almost all things are cleansed in blood by the law, and without shedding of blood remission of sins is not made. Therefore it is need that the samplers of heavenly things be cleansed with these things, but but those heavenly things with better sacrifices than these. For Jesus entered not in to holy things made by hands, that be samplers of very things, but into heaven itself, that he appear now to the cheer of God for us, neither that he offer himself oft, as the bishop entered into holy things by all years in alien blood, else it behooved him to suffer oft from the beginning of the world. But now once in the ending of worlds, to destruction of sin by his sacrifice he appeared. And as it is ordained to men once to die, but after this the judgment, so Christ was offered once to avoid the sins of many men. The second time he shall appear without sin to men that abide him into health.